All right, Teresa. What is today? All right. Today is 9/24/2024. It's 8:07 a.m. I'm gonna let Commissioner White open up with a prayer. We're gonna have a discussion on the proposed tax rate.
Heavenly Father, we call your precious name, thanking you, Lord, for life, health, and strength. We thank you for another opportunity to see your beautiful creation. Lord, coming up to this meeting this morning, we just pray that you help us make the right decisions that are going to be pleasing in your sight. And we pray, Father God, that you touch the hearts of everyone that are here and help them to realize that we are all in it together and that we need to be civil and do the right things that will be pleasing and glorify you in your name. It's in Jesus' name we are praying. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner White. Basically, what we're here today is have a public hearing on setting the proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2025. It's 2024 tax rate. The tax rates we have now are the no new revenue rate is 0.662880, and the minimum rate is 0.700926. Which the minimus rate is a rate that will bring an additional $500,000 to the county to, just help pay the bill. With the OU revenue rate, the county is over $600,000 in deficit for the fiscal year 2025 to have a balanced budget. Now, with the de minimis rate, we were still couple $100,000 short. So what I propose is going with the de minimis rate. I'm dropping and this is something we're going to have to vote on, dropping $5.3 million of property insurance coverage. That's savings of $82,000. No raises for county employees. I'm cutting 4 positions. Well, 2 of them up there, I won't be filling in 2 positions. I will be cutting, and I will be making 1 position that's full-time, part-time. So, going with the de minimis rate and those cuts, we can make a balanced budget for fiscal year 2025. So, I wanted to open it up for discussion.
I'd like to add. If you're saying that 500,000 that we need, county needs, what if we have a 10% deficit next year? People and our timber companies not meeting.
Well, that's always a chance. Say the timber values drop, we're just going to have to make more drastic cuts.
So we're gonna make it up this year or next year by increasing the taxes again.
I don't anticipate having, there's some things that we can do next year if it's drastic like that, but it's already basically, there's been talk about employees paying part of the insurance, of their health insurance. I don't like that, but, they already don't make a lot of money anyway, but if it's drastic, it's something we may have to look at. So it's already set this year and voted on. We can't change the insurance for next year's budget. But next year we'll be working on the 2026 budget. So there can be changes made on that.
So if we're not borrowing that money, covering this, we're gonna rely strictly on the tax to get to pay this, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. We had increases of $100,000 on our insurance. We had $160,000. Here's a list of them. Our health insurance went up $96,000. Our accounting and budget software, it's went up $55,000. Our utilities went up $35,000. We're having to take on sewer inspections because Jasper Newton Health is dropping them. and TCEQ don't want to do it, so that's another 10,000 increase. Our unemployment insurance went up 23,000. Our appraisal district went up 87,000, our part of the budget. And housing of prisoners is another big cost. That went up 160,000 because we're having to house prisoners in Beauregard Parish, Jasper County, different areas because our jail is not sufficient to hold them. So that budget increased to 300,000 this year just to house prisoners out of county. So, as far as the increase, everything has increased on us in the last 4 or 5 years. So we just,
asking this, the way the economic in the whole United States is, things is hard.
I know
You could see lots of people
we're facing it.
not being paid this year.
We're facing it also.
Okay.
So we- You say,
Well, I think
so you mentioned borrowing the money or something, so that de minimis rate, we're not borrowing, it's, de minimis is just a word, it's a tax increase. So we're not borrowing money, you're gonna pay $500,000 more in property taxes than you are now. It's a fancy way of saying we're increasing the taxes by $500,000. It's not
Basically,
borrowing,
yeah.
we're not borrowing, you're paying it.
Yeah. That rate is, it equates to basically $30 per year for every $100,000 value.
crap. What is this tax actually for?
The tax is actually to help pay for the increase in everything we've had this year.
So if you look at the budget, around $5 million of the $8 million that the judge gets his hands on, well, it's less than that, it's $7 million. For the general fund goes to payroll. So after you make payroll, the judge unfortunately has a very small amount of money to work with. And a lot of those bills are set, can't do anything about it. Really, the only area that I know of that we can cut is in the payroll.
Well, basically, the county is a service. We're not a for-profit business, but we can't make money unless, we're writing a bunch of tickets and sheriff department getting fined. We're not a money-making industry. We're just basically a service industry. We provide a service to the people for their taxes.
Why the
Proper. Because there's no industry. Sales tax cannot be used for county operation business. There's limited use on what sales tax can be used for by the state, and that is emergency services district. And there's a list of them. I haven't, but we can't levy a sales tax and use it to operate our county. It could be used for economic development. There's just certain things that it can be used for.
But there is a sales tax coming, right?
Yes. Now we have we're trying to get a countywide ESD to provide ambulance service for Newton County, and we have to pass it with a 0% property tax just to get it the ESD pack. And then in 2025, if it passes this year, this November, we plan on going on the ballot in 2025 for a 2% sales tax to help fund the ambulance service for Newton County. Yeah, the state is 6.25%, and the maximum you can go up. Anything in Newton, you're already paying an 8% sales tax or 8.25% because City of Newton has the 8.25 or the added 2% sales tax.
Is on the housing of Ben. Is the reason that the county is having so much problem with that because things are not moving? is that part of the district attorney job, to get some of these things through the court so that these people can just be to a prison somewhere? I mean, how many are we holding for like 30 days or 60 days versus how many are we in other places to keep them
Well,
who they should be getting out of the county?
there's very few on what they call pretrial intervention.
That's what I'm asking. I mean,
And I don't know the correct number, but, most of them,
that would be a good number to know, especially when we're looking at increasing property taxes. You know, it's just get taxed over and over and over. Same thing going back to insurance. I've been a nurse 39 years, and I've always had to pay a portion of my insurance when I'm working for them. I've never had free insurance to myself.
you know, you take a person that makes $31,000 to $33,000 a year, and you make them pay half their insurance. Well, they're better off sitting at home on basically welfare than they are working. So
Yeah, that would be some of the medical.
it would, but then
I'm sorry, I think that.
I know, but then how would you attract people to work and provide the services that we're supposed to, if we don't pay a living wage for them to do it? If you can't get anybody to work for what it's hard to get people to work anyway, but you can't get them to work for the money that you're paying, then everybody's complaining about, oh, I can't get nothing done. I can't,
Can't get anything done now.
well,
I'm being real. I can't get anything done now, so.
go ahead, Darryl.
Exactly. Understanding about this 30% on $100.
No. $30 per 100,000 value. No, not 30% on 100. $30 per $100,000 value. And that's, you get a $40,000 homestead exemption. So
Timber companies, all those timber companies, getting money, and how do they feel about it?
it's not going to affect them much anyway, because they're all under the Texas Reforestation Act. The timber owners make more money off hunting leases than what they pay on tax. So it doesn't really affect them anyway.
Do they pay a recreation tax?
No. And that's thanks to your Texas legislature.
I'd like to go back to her insurance question about, the county workers not paying for their insurance. Since Saturday, when that came up Saturday, I have checked with Martin County, I have checked with Jefferson County and Orange County. And apparently that is a thing statewide because y'all all go through the same pool. Now, this is my question. Is there different policies that could lower if the worker took on a higher out of pocket? Now, like we both have had to change our insurance this past year, our homeowners and our health insurance, and we went with a higher out of pocket to keep it. Do they offer different policies to lower your rates?
That's a question I'm not sure on. Our treasurer's office, HR handles.
And these ladies have the answer.
Yes.
To the county, it's just.
Okay, so she's,
So that
so there
gentleman,
is different policies.
so that gentleman come to a workshop, how long ago, Ginger, was it about 2 months ago? When the gentleman attacked, so we asked the questions you folks are asking about the insurance of the court, because for my wife, I pay $1,300 a month out of my pocket for my wife to have this insurance. So I was very displeased with our insurance provider, and I asked the same questions you're asking. There was a gentleman that come to us from TAC, the Texas Association of Counties. He's our insurance representative, TAC. And he assured the court that he would come back before we adopted our next tax. Got that on the brain.
Our next insurance.
Our next insurance, he would come back and he would give us many different options that we could go with as a county and as an individual. So we are working that angle. Like the judge said, that horse is done went through the gate. We can't do nothing about it this year.
So.
Well, we've agreed to what coverage we would have next year. Enrollment period's in October, November. But that's for the employee, not necessarily.
How much 500,000 is gonna be at this big for insurance for the employees?
Not all of it, it's gonna go toward, there's no raises. It's going toward housing of prisoners, I got a list here. All the increases, we got 96,000 on health insurance, unemployment insurance went up 23,000. Just, basically,
There's nothing in that budget, new truck for everybody
Yes.
running around.
No, there's no-
That.
the only vehicles that are in the budget are for the sheriff department, and that's replacing some units that have almost 200,000 miles on. Yeah, well, and two, as far as the sheriff,
No more buying no building, not buying any more vacant buildings.
no, there's nothing in the budget, basically just operation of the county. But, as far as like the sheriff department, they have, sheriff department and the DA's office got a grant from the state to increase salaries. The sheriff's department got 350,000. The DA's office got 175,000 to increase the salaries, and hire people. So the sheriff's department is working off the $350,000 grant, and the DA's office is working. So that's money from the state that didn't cost the county anything too.
I mean, this one year.
No. No, the only vehicles that we have in the budget, we've already ordered one, maybe two for the sheriff department. But once you order a vehicle, it takes a year and a half for it to come in. So there was some vehicle ordered February, and one of them's a prisoner transport van, and the other one is a patrol vehicle. And then next year, there's plans to replace two more vehicles. But they're in the, no, there's a building that's gonna start, but it's paid for by a grant from General Land Office. It's $13 million no match grant. So, the county got that, and we're building basically a shelter, multipurpose building out by the old prison.
But when you say, what's this money gonna be used for? I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's gonna go into a general fund. And, I don't, if I could, Judge, I don't want you to sit here and think that I may not buy a new piece of equipment for precinct 4. One of the other commissioners may not buy that. And the truth of the matter is, we may end up having to do something that we're not planning to do. So when you ask if the correct is right now, we have no intentions of doing those things.
It's like, buy diesel. Some of that money, you help my debt to buy diesel with.
So the way,
You told me that
That's not-
yourself. Told me that's one of the reasons.
I told,
Didn't have money to buy diesel.
no, I told you that I cannot, it's up to the commissioner's discretion on how to do their roads.
I didn't ask you that, but why didn't they do it? That they didn't have the money to buy the diesel right.
When was that?
last.
I don't remember that one. You know, if it was toward the end of the year, I may have told you that.
Oh, I'm sure.
But like,
That money.
So the way the money is split up is when all these taxes come in, each of the commissioners receive a percentage of that to run their precinct on. We can't take that money and,
They need to understand that that's mandated by government.
yeah, and I would. So that money comes to each commissioner per Texas legislative law. And the way why the government set that up was, and I'll just be absurd, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a point. If we all four sat here and said, you know what, we need a water park, we're all gonna throw $150,000 toward a water park, Judge. And then we build a water park with your road and bridge money. So the government said, no, you're gonna take a percentage of whatever taxes you bring in and you're gonna improve roads and bridges. You're gonna keep the infrastructure there so people can build houses, so people can build businesses. So when we get that percentage, we've got to spend it on road and bridges. That's what it's intended for. So I just wanted to make sure you understand. There was a question the other day about why do the commissioners all have secretaries now? I'm going to go ahead and cross that bridge. I have a full-time secretary. I tried it without a secretary for about 3 or 4 months. And then I went part-time. And then after about 7 months, I made that person full-time. And I can show you where that's paid out huge dividends in a lot of different areas. But the question was, do away with those secretaries and give the judge the money. We can't do that. What we get, we have to put toward our staffing or the roads and bridges.
Just like going back time, ever offered Union County was there in this building. Now it's scattered all over the county and there's less business, less people and everything else. And these computers, it's a computer world. It was all done with a pencil, but it's not that way. Got to have the money to do this.
yeah, and by law, you know, record keeping, you have to keep,
Yeah, you gotta.
you got to keep the records for, you know, we've got enough records around in different offices that you could fill the courthouse up and it'd be sticking out top. But, you know, as far as like our budgets, our sheriff department budget is 2.7, that's sheriff department and jail is $2.7 million. So, you know,
They don't.
you know,
When you
I think,
call them and ask them to do.
well, I can't,
I thought, all my life, I thought when the law was the law, when you broke the law, broke the law.
well, I can't comment on,
King County, I was told by the sheriff's office, we don't enforce those.
well, I don't have any comment on how they, yes,
Is there currently a hiring freeze?
yes,
So whatever positions open will not be filled
yes.
Well,
Well,
within.
it's within the county now, it's different for the,
yeah,
it's different for the commission.
so, and it's different for the sheriff's department. Because, so the judge is talking about his.
Yeah, I'm talking about general,
There are hiring freezes, so as I'm put forth
Yeah.
tomorrow, is her position gonna be filled? Or is it gonna be saying, no, y'all are gonna have to give up extra duties?
yes, that's what it's going. Now, under the general fund, you know, you exclude the 4 commissioners, you exclude,
That's your,
no, they're under the general fund. Now, under the general fund, you have the judge's office, the county clerk, district clerk, tax office, the 4 JPs, the 4, constable, the sheriff department, auditor's office. I know I'm leaving some out.
But there's no hiring freeze.
The treasurer's office,
But there's no hiring freeze. When we set this budget, whatever jobs are in these budgets, if somebody quits, there's nothing to say they can't fill that department.
yeah,
They can fill that
if
role.
it's in the budget.
If it's in the budget,
But the 4
Could
positions,
be. Hospital gets for the financial. Other positions.
the 4 positions that are being eliminated will not be filled.
It's not in good enough shape right now financially. We wouldn't be talking about this if we could just continue to hire people. And we ever moved on. There, that needs to be looked at is not refilling those positions. at least until next year, until we see what the county looks like. I can't tell my boss, I want more money this week, or next week, or next year, because I can't pay my bills. So if the county can't pay their bills, they need to look at what can we do not to increase taxes, because we can't afford it year after year after year.
Well,
It's
with the no new revenue rate, you know, we was facing cutting 9 to 13 positions. So, you know, going with the de minimis rate, you know, and once you cut positions, once you cut positions, you cut services. So, well, you're getting some, you know.
Get my garbage picked up. I know when we needed a culvert, we needed some things on our road, we paid to have that. And we get the county to do it. So those are things that we have to pay for. We pay for a new culvert, we pay to get a backhoe out there, and put in new culvert. We had to put in 2.
What's it gonna take next year? to get Good side, or y'all won't bring the taxes back down?
Well, that depends on inflation. This is a one-time.
For us retired people.
It's a one, well, I'd say one-time tax, but if we go with a no new revenue rate next year, it'll still be the same.
No,
So
but sir,
the way the tax rate goes, when the property value increases, the tax rate drops to what they call a no new revenue. So the way it's designed is, you know, you bring in the same revenue as you brought in the previous years. Or with the exception of the new properties that are added on the tax roll that year. So
Not much incentive for our grandchildren to stay in the town. Some aspect of it.
I know
That's why I'm up here.
it's like that everywhere. You know,
Well,
now you go to a county that's got
we
industry.
had something for them to do, Ronnie. Income, I've worked out of the county all my
I know,
working career, you have too.
yes.
When you come to this position. But, when our grandchildren see more opportunity in a different county, that's where they're gonna hibernate. And, you know, that's why I'm up here with my children and grandchildren. There was incentive to stay here, pay the taxes. I had no problem with it. I shoot myself in the foot here for grandchildren.
I have a taxpayer question. This gets worse every year. I mean, we have a bigger budget, we have less money. What happens? We have no industry. What happens? The Newsom County finally has no more answers.
that's where we're at.
Does the federal government come in and take over for a county? I mean, seriously,
Yeah, so
what
I-
happened?
Very good.
So I'll answer that question. That's where we're at now. That's where I think this court is at. We're at a crossroads. We're gonna either raise the taxes on the people or we're gonna make some extreme cuts in staffing. So my feelings are, you're gonna be at the same place next year because we're not making the extreme cuts this year. And it may seem insensitive, but that's where we're at. The only way your taxes will ever go down is if an industry opens up here and brings in a lot of new houses, because more than likely, any industry that comes here, we're gonna give a tax abatement, right?
Industry, prison. Oh, that land out there, that building's worth $500,000. But sure, get on that computer, find some company that would buy that land and that building.
It was worse for $25 tomorrow.
mean, what's it being used for?
He's got
Hardly nothing.
everybody else in the county.
Hardly nothing. It's like when we had that hospital on top of that hill out there. We needed a place for a courthouse, man. They're going out there, you're already home, with the rent bill. And that's in the past, we had nothing to do with it. Just say, that as an example. Newton County, all this land they own down on these river lots, quite sure there's people in Houston or Dallas that would buy one of those lots for $50,000, build them a camp out.
Now,
That we don't collect any taxes on property, the county can't tax themselves, can they?
we can't do anything with that property, but let it revert back to its natural state. Any property that was bought with federal,
We lost, there was a lot of those people paying $3,000 to
oh, I know,
$4,000 a year
But-
taxes.
you're talking about the flood buyout property. Now, anything that the federal money was used for to buy out property, it can only revert back to its natural
Just
state.
like every prison. God, they sold this hospital on top of this hill out here and got that money, the county did. They sell that in prison, it ain't doing nobody no good. Can't put any inmates in it, because they say it's not nice enough.
No, but that's for sale, your excess money, if it's your house, you can do that. You can buy it. That's.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
When I look at the rates from last year, our county rates show to be 0.709575 on every $1,000.
yes.
When I look at the de minimis rate that you're planning on going with, I see 0.700926, which is actually lower this year. Is that not correct?
That is, the tax rate is actually lower this year.
Is
Than what we had
actually
last
increasing.
No,
But because it's appraisal side, that's where you get the extra money. So our actual rate that was set last year is lower, I mean, it is
Yeah.
higher than it is this year. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
But that's a facade, because your appraisals go up. So you're not paying the same taxes. You can't just look at that tax rate. You gotta look at the whole picture, and that's why it takes the tax office saying, based on the appraisals, if you wanna get the same money you got last year, you gotta drop the tax rate to 0.66.
Right.
If we keep it where it's at the 0.70, we're getting more money than we got last year.
And I understand that. I'm just trying to make sure that I understand that the actual rate is lower than it was last year.
you know, if, from my understanding, if we don't come to a consensus today on tax rate, and a budget will revert to the 2024 budget and the tax rate from last year.
My name is R.B. Reed, and I live on County Road 302. My question about the insurance for the employee. Okay. Is the insurance just for the employee or is it for his whole family?
Employee.
Lloyd,
Just the employee. So anything that's above that,
Yeah.
he has to pay.
I pay $1,300 a month for my wife to have health insurance.
Same thing with children.
Yeah.
You have to pay it.
Yeah.
Just one employee.
it's just for the
So
employee.
it's just for the individual,
That's it.
not the family.
Now, the county pays for the employee's individual, for the employee's insurance.
Yeah, that's what the $100,000 should be, is for the employees.
Yes. The insurance increase is just for the employees.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I said I would. But I'm not just sitting here. I called Nancy Windham. She's the one that's trying to help us get the biochemical plant. And she asked me, because I took it on myself to call her, to get business in here. She said, Mr. Benson, if you give me some land, just tell me what, what you got to offer. You don't have to own it. And I came up with 3 pieces of equipment, the old Bleakwood, sawmill, Cause they got a railroad track there, they got 3 phase, you got a pipeline to it there, the old irrigate mill. And another piece, I can't remember right now, but I am trying, she's trying to get business to come to Newton County. And so I'm doing the best, the
Yeah.
court.
We're
doing the
we're
best
trying to
we
get,
can.
Plans to bring businesses in the county. I'm correct, Eddie Hopkins,
Eddie works for Jasper Economic Development.
what now?
Eddie works for Jasper, the city of Jasper Economic Development. Well, he works for Jasper Economic Development.
Yes, sir, him and Miss Wyndham is working together on this.
So there's things that the court can't talk about that are being considered
Yes.
in the county businesses. But until they get here, it's on you and me.
What the point is, Leonard, Eddie was brought over here and paid a salary by Newton County to look at economic development. It didn't materialize like he, well, I'm gonna stop right there. Newton County, he couldn't find nothing in Newton County that would materialize. Well, what you're saying is this has been several years ago, maybe before you come in. But it was halted by Newton County when he suggested. And been several years back. That's to you what you're saying about what you did is then.
When you start talking shit about property tax, I cannot put anything on my property that somebody has got a spot over there to increase my taxes. Greg and our home has been paid for 10 years. We have to budget $700 a year. Be able to pay our property taxes at the end of the year and insurance. And we too are doing that same about insurance. Everybody's insurance went up. We had to make some hard choices. We had to go with another policy.
Well, I'm in the same boat. My home and auto went up to 22,000 this year. I had to drop coverage and go with a different policy.
And you're gonna have to say,
But like, I'm like you, we pay 5,000 a year in property tax,
same though when your home is paid. You're having to pay that much money to stay in your home.
Yeah, the bottom line is you'll never own your home.
You sure don't.
You lease it until you die, and then your kids gotta pay the lease on it.
Generation,
They're taking themselves.
That's it.
Yeah. Or they're taking.
Or they'll take. Yeah. So, the court's not immune to this. I paid a lot of property tax last year. A lot.
what you're saying is, they just say $500,000 house. Got tax, that's gonna be $150 extra a year.
yes.
Think, personally. Hey, county employees, or let them make a lot. And surely we can afford them for insurance. Insurance is hard. I pay insurance too, but I've been like, now that I've paid for a while. Long time. So it's really not that great. Look at all those people. Nobody wants to do that.
Well,
And when people move in here to do business, I really gotta give a big tax break. Some reason, other they don't come here.
well, the biggest hindrance is Newton County does not have a north-south railroad. We have one railroad, and then we have one down toward the end of the county, but, we have the east-west railroad through Bleakwood. And there's just not a lot of properties available on that railroad that's buildable, And another big hindrance is population. We've got lots of timberland. 70% of the land in Newton County is on basically timber, which under the legislature that was passed many, many years ago, you know, they get a good tax break on. So, and then the timber lobby spends millions of dollars just to keep that. So,
Well, you know, you talk about, so this is my fear as a commissioner. You talk about what's $150 per household. Appraisal value on Cottonwood, that's an electric plant, in Deweyville. It went up $22 million this year. Their appraisal went up 22 million. We settled for a $10 million increase. Settled with them. That's what the appraisal district in Cottonwood said, okay, we'll just settle for 10. But when you get a $10 million increase, Cottonwood, at some point, I mean, that business down there is a business that can be put on trucks and hauled somewhere else. It pays for 50% of this county. At some point, they're going to get tired of their taxes going up and up and up, toting the entire county. And if they ever walk out of this county, we're going to lose 50% of our revenue.
They've done that. They stopped paying taxes. Back in the '60s. So the county almost voted it up. Talking about talking.
Stop it.
go ahead.
You were talking about grants earlier. When this board came in, those of you who were newly elected, there was grants in the works at that time that had not made it through whatever channel they had to go. Did those grants ever make it? Were they dropped? I spoke to you about it. Hey,
Yes. Now, there was a grant for emergency shelter. You know, they were set to go at the airport. Now they wouldn't fund that. So, we pulled the application back and changed it to a location where, you know, closer to the population, out by the prison site, old prison site. And, you know, they did fund it. That's 13 million. As far as like the broadband grants, you know, they're still ongoing. There's a lot of money out there for broadband for Newton, and that's another thing that's hurting Newton County is, you know, the rural, you know, no high speed internet. But there is $700-800 million that are in the works. It's in the planning stages, but you know, we're still 5-6 years away.
is and where it needs to go. So do you have any other grants in the works? And we had talked about cutting services. We know where that stands. So with this increase, and we're going to have an increase. There, you know, it's obvious. It just is how much of it. And if you have, you go ahead and do this increase this year. Are there any other grants in the works that are possible in 2025 that are going to finally dig us out of all this deficit so we can go into 2026 with a balanced budget?
We can get grants for buildings, we can get grants. We can't get grants to help fund county operations.
But if you put that money into buildings, you put it where it's supposed to go. That's something that the county doesn't have to pay for.
Yes, and
So I'm looking, you know, like I said, it's inevitable. We've got to have a tax rate. Just how much of a tax rate and how long are you looking into the future for us to be able to get a balanced budget?
So
Are you
earlier,
looking
it's
1
been,
year,
I'm thinking 1 year. You know,
that's your goal?
yes. So we can make some, we're gonna be in the same situation, but we're just gonna have to do some drastic.
How does that seem? tax. That needs to be looked at, and if petitions come up, then they're not automatically.
But, you know, we put a hiring freeze on, we got a new sheriff coming. You know, some of the deputies may want to leave, so if we have a hiring freeze, we can't hire deputies. You know, we got a new commissioner coming in, you know, some of the people that's working there may not want to, may not want to work, so, you know, if we have a hiring freeze, and we have a commissioner, you know, he can't do anything by himself.
So the way it works, it's, the judge is the chief financial officer of the county. The judge cannot tell an elected official what to do in his or her office. Correct me if I speak out of turn.
By state law, I can direct where they office, but I cannot direct how they run it.
Got two control mechanisms, where they office and how much money they have to operate on. That's what the chief financial officer can do. Now, once we adopt a budget, he's told them how much money they got to operate on. If he has, or if the court has said, you know, they got $10 and that'll provide employment of 5 people, and one of those people leaves, the judge can't say, oh, I'm pulling that back, or, you know, we voted on it, we adopted that. So the budget cycle is the time to decide what you absolutely have to have in regards to staff. We're going to get to that point. It's just whether we do it this year or next year, this coming.
And this is all subject of what you're talking about right now. Mr. Powell is unlucky to have his yard moved up on the highway where it is. This is basically in my back. I'm nosy, you can tell. Okay. There are things that's happening at precinct. He is putting a recycled material on our roads. But because he got it at a very low price compared to what he would have to pay and only be able to do 2 roads instead of 10 roads. If he went with so roads are they're not being paid, but they are getting a base that we can drive on. Where that has not happened in the 12 years I've lived in Newton County. The other day, we had a road that was washed out forever. He got recycled railroad ties to put a base in that road so it won't come out again. That saved money if he would have had to go and buy new material. I have no problem with any precinct because you only have so much money to work with. Or the other precincts trying to put these things, you know, trying to use a recycled material to be able to do something versus not touch it at all. And is that countywide? Is it just in Mr. Powell's precinct? You know, you need to.
I can answer part of that, you know, as far as the material, the state gives so much a year. They had some extra, and it was cost prohibitive for Mr. Powell being in Deweyville, but for like precinct 2 being in Weirgate, the cost of freight, you know, going to get the material was.
But to answer your question, yeah, we are, as a coalition, all 4 commissioners we are excited about what we're doing now. And Commissioner Powell has been taking the lead, or he has stepped out, and he's ahead of the rest of us as far as, you know, using, I guess, thinking outside of the box. And, you know, a lot of things we do is routine that we've seen done down through the years, but we're right. We have purchased some equipment that we've been needing. It floored me that we did not have a roller in the county, period, when I took office, and we finally got one, because as we put this material down, if we pack it in where it would stay and wet it down, we also working with Taryak, some of the plants that are providing us these materials. They are teaching us their technology also. They're in the road building business.
So this is in turn saving money.
Right. for all the rocks and roll off into the ditches and wash off and we're learning some new techniques and we find, you know, we're looking at, several different, companies that provide this equipment. And plus the state has had a lot of this down through the years. The state built far more roads than we do and they've been in the business a lot longer. And so we're at, you know, and so consulting them about their techniques and machinery and that kind of thing. So we are making some progress and we're focused on trying to save, keep doing things over and over. Some of these grants that you were talking about, they have what they call a mitigation grant. That's when you have a certain area, say a low-lying area in a long road, in a community, and whenever you get these 2 or 3 inch rains every time, it washes everything off, and you have to go back and spend, you know, excess money, put material back, put larger covers and that kind of thing. Well, we have gotten a couple so far, but they have mitigation grants that it's like this flood we had in April 10, I believe it was. Greg Abbott, he had a declaration, put in a declaration for East Texas so that we can, the government would help fund some of this replacing and mitigating some of these problems we got. So we try and cash in on those when we can so that, you know, we're getting some bridges put in right now. I have 2 in my precinct where it used to be, it washes out and we have problems trying to, the entrance to the bridge and the landings get washed out every time we get a big flood. They're increasing, they're putting in new bridges and pouring concrete, you know, really mitigating the problem so it won't be a repeating thing. So, yeah, we're trying to take advantage of those opportunities.
Say, I need to add something to that, please. You cannot compare that, your precinct to this precinct.
I was just asking.
Because we don't have many paved roads and roads that have that base on it. We have dirt roads that are graded all the time.
About 230 miles worth.
So there's a very big disadvantage.
So I'd like to speak to that, you know, and just add to, and show on time, but real quickly. Talking about the court's makeup, you know, we're a diverse group. We think differently, we vote differently, but man, we work well together. I needed a boom mower this summer. I was in a bad way for a boom mower. Ours failed. Commissioner Benson hooked me up with a boom mower for months and that bailed me out. Commissioner White is using one of precinct 4's 2 maintainers. And collectively, we went together and we bought a roller. We all pitched in the same amount of money. We bought that roller. We bought or a trailer to haul it with. And now Commissioner Benson just wanted to bid on a reclaimer and looking forward to paying some of that if he'll let us. But we work well together. We're looking forward to Commissioner Hobson coming on, bringing 16 years of road maintenance experience to the court. But, you know, I'm new, so I got a lot of new ideas, right? But that's no more valuable than people that have been working on a maintainer for 30 years. Now, we are trying very hard to work together and to leverage each other's differences, diversity. So I'm happy. I'm very, very happy with the court as it stands, the way we work together, get things done on the roads.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, you know, all the oil sand roads, the paved roads, the county had no equipment to repair these roads. The only thing they had was a guy with a shovel full of, what do you call that?
Super tag.
Huh?
You can call it a lot of different things. We call it super tag.
You know, just the only thing they had to fix those potholes is take a man out there with a shovel and shovel something in it. So with the addition of this equipment, you know, maybe we can, you know, as a county, we can fix some of these.
But we're going to fix it.
Let's have one question. The previous administration bought a mechanic truck that was sitting there. Not you. Take a loss. Yeah, I didn't know good sitting there. Keep it washed, clean, and it looks good sitting back there by the field. Just do it as no good. Really, you know good.
Agree 100%. We put that up.
$1,000. Can't get it to the board. Sell it.
We put it up for sale, and as far as I know, we didn't get any hits on it at all. We got down, we'd take 160 for it. So it got down so low, the court made the decision, let's don't give it away at this time. Let's look at that at a later date. I needed tools. I had no tools in my shop. Commissioner Bombi said, hey, that mechanic's truck is full of brand new tools. And it was. And we come and got it, brought it down to precinct 4, and I bought a new toolbox and I unloaded about, I hate to tell you, about $10,000 worth of tools out of that mechanic's truck. Save that cost to the county, to the precinct, whatever you say. But we will look at that, selling that truck again, but we can't sell ourselves out of a deficit budget. If the tax levy, if you're spending more money than you're bringing in, you can sell everything you got, but sooner or later, you're gonna run out of stuff to sell. And you're gonna have to make, so you have got to match your revenue with your expenditures. That's what you call balancing a balance.
I know how you manage, but. Oh.
Okay.
So I don't need you to explain how to manage the budget. But if I got something sitting in my house that's not usable, not doing me any good, instead of letting it rust down and depreciating more, get rid of it. Why can't you do that?
Well, the plan on is, trying to trade that, truck for a piece of equipment that the county needs to use to work on it.
That would be a good idea. I mean, at least be doing something with it, get something out of it, instead of sitting there. Appreciate it, because it's not getting more money sitting there.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes,
I'm sorry, I said it was one.
one, and then we're out of time.
But we are looking at the old prison, trying to get some bids to see how much it costs to renovate it to become a jail. Because our biggest problem is jail. So we gotta see how much it's gonna cost, make that feasible for a jail. So this court is trying to cut down. The biggest thing we got is insurance and jail problems right now and housing. And we are trying, I guarantee you, this court is trying, we're looking out, seeing what's available out there. Because we got a new sheriff coming in and yes, we got problems, but I don't say a whole lot, but we are doing things. But we're just not out there broadcasting. But that jailhouse, we are looking at getting bids to see so we can present to the
That
court.
costs money. Renovations cost money.
Yeah.
That we haven't got.
Yeah.
At 22, because if you don't get a place to house them, we're gonna continue to pay to house these prisoners in Beauregard and Jasper and Houston, wherever.
We've been fortunate to,
I'm saying what y'all said, and I'm not saying anybody's doing a bad job of what they're doing. When I drive through the county and I see access in places don't need access, and that's a problem. Or when I know, I don't know who controls the budget as far as like auditors. When an auditor spends $7,000 on roads, go under a desk, that's a problem. Now, I don't know who board controls her budget.
Now, the 7,000 on roads, we had, it wasn't just for her off. Now, if you look in the courtroom, we had the floors redone in the courtroom. There was a bunch of, spark pine wood that's in there that was, finished. And there were some areas that had high heel all through it. We had to do a lot of sanding to get that down. So majority of the rugs went in the courtroom. Can't see them. There's some in there, but majority of them were for the courtroom.
Do they
Just to
need-
protect the floor.
They need another building, they had desks and chairs and all. They need to buy all new stuff here. Bring over, watch it, and use what they have.
Well, some of the stuff couldn't be moved.
It's what they was sitting right in there, not being used.
Well, that's, that was the PDM office. But,
I'm just saying, there's
but if you,
little
if
things add up to big things.
you fill that office, you're gonna have to buy a desk anyway. But like the,
This county was
where
run
the auditor, where where the auditor's office was, you know, we're putting the agriculture extension office.
Okay.
So,
The auditor's office, they only had assistant auditor here for years. Mr. Houlihan, San Antonio auditor, he came in once a month or every quarter. But there was only an assistant auditor. Took care of the county. Now we have 4 people, auditor's office.
well,
And you still have to pay $50,000 for somebody else to come in and help her.
well, the same thing back then, there was one librarian. You know,
We did
run
one.
the-
We don't
run the
have-
library, but, you know, everything has increased.
So we don't have 4 people in the auditor's office. We have an auditor. She has a full-time assistant and a part-time assistant. So the auditor is doing a tremendous amount of work and doing a very good job of helping us
More than they've
Identify.
ever done.
identify areas of opportunity. But the things that you mentioned, absolutely, the little things add up. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a budget. We're not talking about micromanaging what we've done in the past. We're talking about looking at the amount of revenue coming in and the expenditures that are on that sheet of paper. So you can critique us on buying rugs, but it doesn't change what the judge is putting down saying, this is what I gotta have to go forward in 25, and this is the amount of revenue that's coming in. That's what we're here about today. Now, the court is of a different opinion on it, but we're not divided because of our opinion. And speaking of that, that gentleman won't speak, but we about
One question. So there's been a lot of discussion about grants, record. So Judge, you and I talked about this briefly.
Yes.
We had to pay back the FEMA grant. Correct? We are paying it back,
Yes, we will be paying,
plus or minus $1 million. Is
yes,
that paid or is going to be paid?
it's going to be.
Is that part of this tax increase to cover that? How are we gonna pay for that? No, not to solve here.
Well-
but- so really my question is, I know the grants can't supplement the budget. But if we don't meet the requirements of the grant, then that comes out of our budget, unbudgeted.
Yeah.
What are we doing to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore?
Well,
Whether it's in one commissioner's area or across multiple. Who has oversight to make sure that we don't get ourselves in that position?
well, the county has a grant administrator. And I told you earlier, I had a lot of the things that the county got hit on with the contracts. Some of the contracts did not have the specific wording that the federal government required, which is, basically one paragraph. So the county got hit on a lot of the contracts. Well, I had the grant administrator go over every contract, and these are contracts that they pulled straight from the GLO's website. Hey, here's a contract. You can use ours or you can make your own. So the grant administrator went through, and a couple months ago in commercial court, we updated 13 different grant contracts to to ensure that they had the federal wording on that. So 10 years from now, another court's not faced with the same thing we're going through.
Again, back to my question. Where is the check and balance to say that somebody is looking at this, make sure it doesn't happen again, whatever precinct? Is it the commissioner's responsibility, number
Okay.
one, it's in his area? And does anybody oversee that commissioner to make sure that he's following it?
So let me answer that. I asked the judge if I could answer. So it's not the commissioner's responsibility. It's the chief financial officer's responsibility with the court's support.
So all commissioners?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what we've done as a court was we put a grant administrator in place, talented person. Feel like we got a good start there. We have meetings about that. The SB 22 money is a grant, but of all the schooling that we've been to, it is a grant that is deep seated in the legislature, just like the DPS, the game wardens. It's not going away. It's not something that's going to vanish. So the district attorney hired a county attorney. So now, unlike in the past where the district attorney was wearing a couple of different hats trying to do everything, we now have a county attorney that sits in every commissioner's court meeting, keeps us in checks and balances. We also have quarterly meetings with the general land office, TDM, and our grant administrator, contract grant administrator that we just updated these grants with. So I'm not saying 5 years from now, we won't be talking about a mistake we made last week. But I can tell you where I'm at as a commissioner. I feel like this court, with this judge, has put a basis we can in to comply with every dot in those grant applications.
We need that.
And I think we have.
$10 is a big hit for the taxpayer.
Yeah, but I will say this, I'm not in favor of paying back TDM that money, and that's a topic for another discussion, but I don't think we owe them a dime. The last communication we had with them, we turned it over to our county attorney that we just hired. She sent them a formal letter on a letterhead that said, going forward, all communications regarding this $800,000 receivable, they call it a receivable because they're receiving it, needs to go through the district attorney's office. We've heard crickets since that time. She also added, furthermore, we want to see all documentation to support the money we've already paid you back. So we're doing everything we can when it comes to compliance with grants and even challenging what we owe. I think we're in a good place. That's old Bubba's opinion. Philip, did you want to add to that?
Yes, I wanted to say, I've been on the board, through, the last two administrations. Grants are a sore spot because, some of the grants that we were applying for were 25% match. And you're talking about a $4 million match. So I said, $4 million, sometimes if you go out for a $4 million grant, and you're responsible for matching at 25%, that's $1 million that the county would have to pay. We fell into that trap or down that road at first, and I do agree. I've heard some of the public say that we were going too aggressive going after grants. Since then, a lot of our grants are what we're focused on. We're accepting grants that are 10% match, which is a lot less, or no match, just like this one with the
10% or zero match.
Yeah, and so we learned from that, and we did have, there was a lot of different grants, and even though it was all housing, and Commissioner Powell can tell you some of his citizens come in and talk to TDM about it. Every grant had a different guideline, and a lot of times the citizens as well as us got misled because we assumed that this guideline, just because it was a home building, that it was the same as the other one, but it had totally different guidelines. And so we had so many things floating around that we had, and going back to when I stepped in 19, Liz Holloway was the previous auditor. She was wearing about 4 different hats, and I couldn't see how she could keep up with it all, and she couldn't. And so we gave her an assistant, which was Rhonda, and the two of them, they got with our grant administrators, who is Trailers Association, which is a very good company. They're sound. But they got with them and they learned how everything that the government was requiring in these portals, just because we give them every document we had, every dollar figure, everything that we had, all information, we give it to them. Well, it didn't match what the state was asking for. So they went to school and learned how to satisfy that. So there was whenever they left the county, well, we didn't have anyone with the knowledge and experience to handle that. So I think Ms. Crystal came in to help our auditor to try to figure out some of that stuff. And it was just too much. ARPA money, all kinds of funds that we received down through the years, the last 10 years. Well, we couldn't trail it all back. So this grant administrator we got now, she's very inquisitive, and she has dug in. She's got with Liz and all these people that was involved with our grants, and she's got all the documentation even. We had it scattered some here and some there. She's pulled it all in, she's reviewed it, and she got it right in front of her. So we in a good place, as Commissioner Powell was saying, on grants. And with our assistant DA and Ian being involved with everything and all the legal work and all that, we are in a good place with it. I think we learned a lot down through our mistakes.
And one final. Yeah. I think as people pay taxes, we need to know how many people can be considered telling them. And why do we have so many people at all these other places that are paying for them to be there? Is it because they need to go to TDC? Is it because they're waiting to go to court? If they're waiting to go to court, how come they're waiting so long?
Well, you know, like, waiting on a bed for state hospital. That's a 200 and something day wait for a bed to open. You know, we've had, inmates in, but you take somebody that, you know, they'll take, 60 days in jail or 90 days in jail, you know, their house there. We're limited on how many we can house in the jail by the state, you know, and we had some problems with the jail, and myself and the sheriff has already made 2 trips to Austin from the jail commission. You know, we were close to losing jail accreditation. We wouldn't be able to house anybody in the jail. But we've worked through those issues and we've got them fixed. But by the jail commission, there's only so many inmates we can house in there. So
I
if you
understand that. I'm asking.
if you want the prisoners, if you want the people that commit crime to pay for what they've done, you know, we have to house them somewhere.
It's not a prosecution issue. That's what you're
That's
asking.
what I'm asking.
No, it's not a prosecution issue.
That's exactly.
It's not a pretrial. There, you know, and there's some that'll be in there for pretrial intervention, but you know, they're
So
sitting there for.
That's a new, they get dispensed, however it is. Is somebody taken from out of the county and put back into the county?
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
we have a 14-day jail here. You have to have one open, so we can hold 13 inmates. Okay. All the inmates we have are felons. Not taking misdemeanors and stuff like that, filling the jail up. The guys that we have in the jail,
Where are they? Go to TDC or
all of the above. Some of them are waiting on court, some of them are waiting on probation hold, some of them are waiting on mental health to go to a bed. Sometimes we have to 300 some days for the bed. Well, we had 5 cells full of mental health. Held over 300 days. Can't let them out. Nobody else will take.
Nobody will take them, and they're a danger to themselves.
And how many are in this other
Know what I'm saying?
county? That's one.
It's anywhere from, Beauregard Parish is $65 a day. Jasper County is $45 a day, but they're going up to $85 a day. Most of them are $95 a day to house a inmate. So we have contract with Beauregard Parish, Jasper County, Hardin County to house our overflow inmates.
Anybody play it for? I'm saying the deputy, fueling up down here, I went to Ohio guy. I checked it this morning, 72 cents forward. Getting up with the Ohio guy, don't want to keep the, don't run tank of gas down there with the guy there. That could be lots of money. Or, now, that adds up several $1,000s a year. They could save you something cents a gallon more per gas. Wouldn't that help out and stuff?
It would, and I wasn't aware we had any, no ethanol gas around.
But down there at that gas, plus that car lot, everybody goes right there and gets that no ethanol gas, and they're so cheap. That's a lot of money. I've been watching that for years about it now.
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't, I wasn't aware of that. But, you know, as far as, yeah, the TDM receivable, we do have a $267,000, basically they call it a receivable that we're gonna have to pay this year. It's for the sub courthouse in Deweyville. When they first sent us the paperwork, they said it was an insurance overpayment, you know, so they were deducting that. So we turned it over to, well, first our grant administrator, he couldn't figure out why, because all the numbers added up. But we turned it over to county attorney and she started working on it. Well, they gave her a better description. You know, the contract we use for the architect and everything, the contract that the county used, they started out without any federal or state help. So when it was just basically, you know, had a contract. Well, when feds and the state stepped in and started putting money in, it wasn't noted that the contract did not meet federal requirements. So we had to pay $109,000 back for that. The 5 acres of property that they bought, you know, the county just outright purchased it. They didn't get an appraisal, so that's not allowed. So the things that they're not, so basically the county attorney, you know, made a recommendation to the court that, hey, you know, this is, you know, we need to pay it. So that will be paid this year, $267,000 back to the state for the sub courthouse in Deweyville.
And back to your question, you know, what are we doing to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't? That's where having that dedicated attorney sitting in here with us when we're making decisions, talking about, that's where it pays off in a big way. Before, the previous court did not have that luxury. They did not have a dedicated person. They had an attorney, like I said, trying to empty the jails and do those other things. But now we, by the good fortune of the state, which is still our money, right? Whether it's federal or state or county, it's all of our money, but we're in a better place.
I'm sure as the commissioner in any given precinct, you say you're not responsible. You certainly have a finger in it, if you will.
You
I
know,
can't imagine that you're not going to be on top of that, or should be. But to make sure that somebody is looking over your shoulder, somebody's looking over their shoulder.
am I on top of it?
Yes, the commissioners are on top of it.
Yeah. Appreciate your answer, but somehow slipped through the cracks on the point, and I hope you fight it and win. Because that's not been paid, and it's gonna have to be paid. That's not covered, is what I've heard in this $500,000.
That's
It's
not,
gotta come from somewhere,
okay.
right?
Yes, I'd like to speak on that. You're exactly right, sir. Commissioner, Mike, on this. Another commissioner on this. When some of those home buyouts took place, would that be correct, Mr. White?
Yes.
When those home buyouts took place, there was obviously, there always is, guidelines and stipulations regarding that. Understanding that there was a guideline in there that said these houses had to be torn down by such and such date. Yet they were not. Why were they not? Obviously, the commissioners weren't aware of it, and if they weren't, they should have been. Or they were aware of it and they chose to neglect it, and it passed by. Now we get paid. That's cut right out of it. Shape it any way you want.
Okay, there's a couple of explanations, as to how some of that happened. You know, one of them was the concrete from the houses going to the landfill. So, they asked the state, can we use this concrete for riprap? Well, that had to go all the way up to the federal level, you know, to be able to use the busted concrete in the roads instead of hauling it to the landfill and paying to dispose of it. And also along in there, COVID hit. But we all know COVID shut the world down. So It was just a perfect storm of things, that happened toward a lot of it that caused the houses not to get torn down.
Anybody try to get an extension on that
Yes,
after the fact?
No,
yes. Well, before the fact.
quarterback, we did give an extension, one extension. That was doing COVID. No, because we wasn't aware that they had asbestos in one of their homes. So it put things, set things way back. Asbestos, had to get the contractor to come out and, abate it. It's time, like I said, it was the timing with the COVID and different stuff that, like you said, it's laid up a perfect storm.
And then you throw an election in there and.
I think we actually got 4 extensions.
Yeah,
I
there
think we
was,
got 4 extensions and went back and looked at that. Yeah, we ended up getting 4 extensions and it was trying to balance out, not having to pay somebody to demo it, get somebody to demo that working with the SRA. So I went back and looked at it and, you can look at it and say, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. No teacher like experience, but in my opinion, they were trying to do the best they could to save money in the demo of the houses. And it bit us.
the last extension run out January of 2023. And they would not give us another extension.
How long did that go on? You said you got 4 extensions over how long a period of time?
Went on from 21 to 23.
Here.
But let's just go back, and we're kind of getting off track. I'm confident we're not going to have to pay that because the only thing we didn't meet on that contract was a demo. So let's go to court and let's get in front of a jury of our peers, and let's say, should Newton County have to pay back $900,000 when we met every objective of the program, but the demo date? We met the demo. This court spent money, good taxpayer dollars, to comply with the demo guidelines, even when we were outside of it, because we said, and we discussed it and cussed it and everything else. We said, well, when we do go to court, we want to be able to say we did everything we were supposed to do. We just were late on the demo. So
going forward, the last update I saw, it was May of 23. If you get any progress, can you at least share that with the taxpayers so that we know what's going on?
Yes, I will do an update.
And I would hope that I can trust what I hear is that we have measures in place now, with the county administration that says it won't happen.
Yes.
no, I didn't say it won't happen again. What I said was in 5 years from now, and this is important, I want you to know this because we've talked about it. 5 years from now, if somebody comes back and they says, Bubba, y'all missed that, I can look them in the eye and say, we did the very best we could. We hired a grant administrator. We scrutinized everything that was going on. We got a county attorney involved. We did the best we could. Because we're not perfect. And we've got measures in place. And I think they're good measures, but I cannot sit here and say, it ain't gonna happen. I'm not that foolish. I'm gonna say, we're gonna do our very best, and I think we're in a good place.
We're gonna hope it's not gonna happen. But hey, we're over on our public session, 30 minutes, so.
That kind of question.
All right.
This tax increase y'all want, evidently y'all done got it. Are gonna get it. What is the court gonna do about spending money that's not necessary? And there's a lot of that taking place. You know it, and the public knows it, and all the commissioners know it. Now, what are y'all gonna do about tightening the belt, quit spending money that don't need to be spent, that the taxpayers is having to pay?
Well, we're just going to get a better handle on it.
And another thing, these man-made jobs that y'all making for people in these office buildings is not necessary.
that need to come to a halt too.
The only jobs that were added, last year was, we hired the solid waste people back. Hired a grant administrator this year. Hired an emergency manager back. As far as positions in other offices, with the addition of, I think they got a part-timer in the auditor's office. Yeah, but she was there before. But the one in KK's office is being paid off record retention fund, so her part, full-time. So, Mr. Johnny?
It's that possibly could get better organizing on the system. Intervention.
Yes, there has been a lot of consideration, in the purchase order system. And there will be one implemented after the first of the year.
So that answers your question. You talk about controlling spending. Purchase order system controls spending. It's not something we should do, it's something we have to do. Because it's gonna do one thing, if it does nothing else, it should instill trust in the public that you can track the money. You can go and see where the POs went, who got the POs, when they got, what fund they come out of, and every other facet of it. So, great question. Drove all the way up here, you got one good question.
So, I'm gonna make a motion, we adjourn the public hearing.
So now you see, just close the public hearing.
Okay. I have to go into the next.